Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar around Cleo's integration, specifically into Dynamics 365 Business Central. Before we really get into the weeds of things, I do just want to do some housekeeping announcements. So throughout this webinar, if there are any questions, anything of curiosity, really whatever at all, feel free to throw those questions or comments into the Q&A section that is at the bottom of the Zoom interface. There's a little Q&A button there. So any questions in there, we'll get to those at the end with the remaining time that we have left over. I also want to mention that for all of our registrants, we will be sharing a recording of this session. So if there's anything that needs to be reviewed after the fact, or if this webinar needs to be shared to some folks who were not unable to attend, there will be a recording that will be going out via email over the next few days. My name is Sam Wojcik. I am a solutions architect here at Cleo, so I support our go-to-market teams from a solution standpoint, ensuring that the solution that our customers or prospects are looking for, we'd be able to support their integration flows and really business process flows across their entire trading partner or supply chain ecosystem. But again, as I mentioned, today we'll be focusing on our integration with Business Central. To start, I do just want to provide a bit of an overview of the Cleo Integration Cloud platform, specifically all that the platform can do, how our customers leverage us today, and really what the platform is designed for. So just to orient everybody of where I'm at, starting out on the right-hand side here, we have our business ecosystem. This would include all of your trading partners, so whether those are customers, suppliers, distributors, carriers, really any of your trading partners that are doing B2B communications today. Those are on the right-hand side here, along with any e-commerce marketplaces. The Cleo Integration Cloud solution has a variety of different connectivity methods, along with syntaxes that we do support. So whether you are working with more sophisticated EDI-capable trading partners, or whether you're working with non-EDI folks that can only send PDF files over email, maybe they're leveraging some sort of portal-like solution, we do have the capabilities to integrate and connect with these partners in a variety of different ways to support all of those B2B connections. Moving to the left-hand side here, the visibility layer is what we call the Cleo Integration Cloud Cockpit. This is where users will be able to manage all of their transactions and business relationships on a day-to-day basis to get insight into all those flows, trading partner performance, and in general, just activity across an entire supply chain. As a part of the Cleo Integration Cloud solution, we do also have a development studio where users are able to self-serve and set up their own integrations. So if there is technical expertise in-house and some training has been completed, we do offer the ability for any of our customers to set up any of their own integrations, do new onboarding, set up any advanced logic, cross-reference tables on their own. So again, we do provide those capabilities. We're not entirely a managed service. We can provide managed service. It can be 100% self-service. But most commonly, we see a blend of the two, where our team will tackle some aspects and some in-house development teams will take on other supply chain integration tasks. And then on the left-hand side here, we have really just an overview of all the systems that we integrate into. So whether that's typical TMS, ERPs, WMSs, cloud databases, on-prem databases, the Cleo Integration Cloud solution is able to integrate into any and all of these systems. We are entirely application agnostic. So if data needs to be fed to a single solution or a handful of different backend solutions, we do have the integration capabilities to support that. But again, For the topic of today's webinar, I will be focusing on our Business Central integration, and specifically our accelerator for Business Central. Here's a high-level overview of what the accelerator provides. Commonly, what we are supporting are the EDI X12 4010 standard, integrating into Business Central via their APIs. So we support any of the typical order-to-cash processes, that being the 850, 855, 856, 810. Along with a handful of the grocery documents as well, as seen here at the bottom. Also supported by this accelerator are any of the 3PL communications. So those would be the 940, 945, and then the 943 and 944. So what this accelerator provides is a pre-built foundation to help streamline or speed up the integration and setup into Business Central. The reason that these documents are supported is that they're the most commonly seen across customers that are using Business Central on the back end for more common order-to-cash processes. Now, I do want to mention that for any documents that are not listed here, that doesn't mean that they're not supported. If you're doing 200 series documents or any of the 800 series or 900 series that aren't shown here, Cleo can still set up direct integrations into your Business Central system. The big difference is just having that foundation pre-built. But again, we are entirely application agnostic. We can support any of those flows or integrations to and from Business Central. I also want to mention that our accelerator does have some built-in capabilities around EDI syntax detection. So if we notice that any of the inbound or outbound files do not properly fit the expected EDI format for one of your trading partners, we will automatically stop the execution of that document so we aren't sending out faulty data. It's a nice way to help mitigate on EDI errors, but also potential chargebacks that some customers or 3PL partners could put on to you as a result of sending faulty EDI data. On top of that, we do have duplicate detection for both inbound and outbound flows. So if there is potentially a duplicate inbound purchase order, we will stop the execution of that document so we aren't doubling up on duplicate purchase orders. Similarly, for any of the outbound flows, if we notice that a corresponding advanced ship notice has already been sent out and the exact ID for another advanced ship notice that matches is trying to be sent out, we will stop the execution of that flow as well as a way to help mitigate those errors ahead of time, just through the advanced logic that is built into our accelerator. So with that, I will go ahead and now jump into our demonstration here today. Just give me 1 second while I jump over. So here we can see we are on the Activity tab under Messages. This is where we go to view all of our inbound and outbound file activity across all of our trading partners. So we can see here we have a variety of documents going to and from Acme, our trading partner. If I go ahead and just click on one of these purchase orders, we'll take a look at some of the data that we are populating. So we can see here that we have very basic information showing up from that initial EDI purchase order. I want to mention that any information that's included in any of the EDI documents, inbound or outbound, we would be able to surface that information here to give more of a high-level view into what specifically is being ordered, who is it being ordered by, what are the ship to locations, any cost associated, any information that's included on any of the documents we would be able to surface here. So if folks do want to analyze some of this information from the Cleo Cockpit as opposed to their ERP system, they do have another spot to go and check from some checks and balances perspective to see what was received on the EDI side and what was actually processed on the ERP side. As we'll see here at the bottom, this is our message lifecycle. So we can see here our trading partner Acme. We can see that the connection went smoothly. We hit the transformation step. Everything was transformed properly into BC's format, and we've completed the integration into D365 BC properly. What we can also see really quickly here is our initial EDI message, but we can also see how that message was translated into BC's format. So for error resolution standpoint, if somebody for whatever reason wants to go in and see how this data was transformed, they do have direct access directly within Cockpit to see those translations, and they can even compare them side by side. Oh, excuse me, that's our functional acknowledgement. So we can even compare the two syntaxes side by side to ensure that all the data that we are expecting to transform and pass to BC happened properly. For our outbound flow, similarly, as I mentioned, any information that's in that purchase order acknowledgement, we would be able to surface here. But we have the same sort of flows showing up in our message lifecycle, showing that the document came out of D365 BC properly, hit the correct transformation step, and went back out to Acme. I can also click in for a bit more of advanced logging and reporting of these steps. So if I actually go to the BC side, we can see that we are hitting BC's specific API endpoint, all of these API commands. We do get timestamps. So again, if something does fail, we will notify the exact step in time when that error did occur. But this goes throughout the transformation step, as well as we just saw here, going out to our trading partner. So again, for whatever reason, if there is some need to go into the logs to get some advanced reporting around these processes, all of that information will live within the cockpit and serve as that single source or that centralized solution for EDI troubleshooting. So to bring us back, I'll go back to the Messages tab. And we can see here this specific document, the SA Demo 14 purchase order. We want to see how this shows up in BC now. So if I click over into my D365 BC sandbox environment, we can see here we have our SA Demo 14 document. And we have a variety of fields that we are filling out in BC to account for that EDI document detail. We are able to map directly into these fields. So all of this integration setup can be customized to your specific BC environment. As everybody who uses BC, it comes out of the box the same way, but then once customizations are added, everybody's BC environment gets unique over time. So if there are any specific fields that your system has or your teams use for any sort of accounting or record keeping purposes on the BC side, we are able to log those just through some more customized mapping. We aren't going to generalize any of these mapping processes. We will handle these integrations on a case-by-case basis to ensure that what you guys are expecting out of an integration is actually achieved. I also do want to note, so we can see here in the shipping and billing details, we have XYZ retail. That is the same information that is showing up on our initial purchase order. So again, as we saw, right, there is tons of information in here that we can populate directly within the cockpit message view, but also all of that information in that EDI document, we would similarly be able to assign to specific fields in BC. So all of the customizations and all the integrations Cleo can take on, any of these fields that are blank now, in theory, every field would have some sort of data that we are mapping to. I also want to point out, in terms of trading partner requirements on the outbound side, if your BC environment hosts data that is not needed by your trading partner, we have the ability to strip that data from any of those outbound documents. So instead of sending data that's not necessary or really data that might lead to errors, we would be able to strip that out entirely, ensuring that we're meeting your trading partner's mandated requirements without potentially sending them bad data that could lead to chargebacks or additional errors. But again, from a high level, this is Cleo's integration. We do not provide some sort of separate tab that you have to go into to view all of your EDI flows. We will integrate directly into your system, generate new sales orders that correspond with the EDI 850s that are received. So from a ERP management standpoint, there's nothing too new that's going to occur on your side other than just the automation of some of the sales order creation, along with how we automatically pull data out of your BC system to generate those response documents. Again, just to reiterate, right, a lot of these fields are empty. If there is a desire to have as much information as possible show up in the cockpit along with your ERP environment, all of that work can be taken on. There really are very few limitations in terms of how we want to map data from source to target, and really how we want all of the data that we receive to show up in your system. With the remaining time that we have left, I do want to switch over and talk about some of the newer developments on the Cleo Integration Cloud side of things, just around some more of our orchestration capabilities. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm currently on our BC demo environment, but I'm going to go ahead and jump to a different demo environment. So one second, everybody. So here we are back in the cockpit. This is our dashboard view. For any of our current users, this should all look pretty familiar in terms of the data that we are able to surface around those specific B2B activities. So again, we can see that we're surfacing just general order information around volumes. But some new areas of focus, and for any of our current customers, I'm sure you've heard about this from representatives on the Cleo side, along with any email or marketing correspondence. But we are focusing a lot more on specific supply chain relationships, specifically around SLA agreements, shipping on time in full, along with general AI capabilities, as obviously AI is the new focal point across almost any industry out there. A couple of areas that I do want to focus on in terms of where Cleo is putting our focus for our AI. To begin, we'll just be focusing on these issues tab. There are a couple of other areas that I will show as well here. Through the issues tab, obviously we get a quick view into what these specific issues are. So we can see here we have routing errors, business process failures. We do have some categories down here for any other failures or errors. But if I go ahead and jump into one of these mapping failures, I can see that 20 jobs were impacted by this specific mapping failure, or 20 messages that were being sent out. I get a quick look into what the actual error is, and this is provided by our AI insight to understand what the document was sent, what the map allows for, and really where we've seen errors in the past occur to give more of a resolution, a streamlined resolution, to go ahead and quickly resolve these errors. So again, we get some insight into what the actual mapping rule set error is. We have the ability to resolve that error and then automatically reprocess any of the affected documents. But something that is new that is being rolled out very shortly is this partner notification. So if I have an error and I want to go ahead and notify a partner, we do have this pre-built email template. But what we're working towards is the ability to automatically send emails out of Cockpit. So if any partner or any internal team member does need to be notified, all of the data around that specific error will be pre-populated in a lot more detail than we're currently showing, so that can be shared externally to help address these errors as quick as possible. So that is something that is coming out very shortly, is the partner and internal team notification, the ability to automatically send those email notifications out to let anybody who is impacted be known of the ongoing issues. The next area that I do want to focus on is this anomalies tab. So we will be focusing on typical order volumes or typical processes over a period of time. And if we notice any rise or drop in volume, we can set up custom notifications to alert various team members. So in the case of Walmart's drop in volume, if we have a representative that owns a Walmart account, maybe we'll let them know about this drop in volume to see if there's anything unique going on with the relationship that could be potentially leading to this drop. So, for example, if we've been impacted by chargebacks, and this was kind of something that hasn't been surfaced to either a customer success, a sales, or an IT team, we can automatically have those notifications go out to folks. So if there are issues, again, more in terms of the relationships, the proper personas or contacts within an organization can be identified. And then this is more of a newer feature for the Cleo Integration Cloud Orchestration Edition is our orchestration tab. In here, what we are starting to track is on time and in full shipments. So if I look at this from a high level, I get some insight into the specific purchase order. So I can see there were 7 line items with a quantity of 178 widgets that were shipped. Well, actually, we can see that we haven't actually shipped anything yet. We've fully confirmed that we will ship everything, but we haven't actually begun any shipping process nor an invoicing process. What we also get insight into is the amount of time remaining to send this document before we incur a chargeback or some sort of SLA penalty. So this is a nice way to ensure that your organization is staying in good standing with some of your most important trading partners that you guys rely on to realize revenue and keep the business afloat. So again, these orchestration capabilities are available in the Orchestration Edition, but a lot of the effort is going into helping our customers maintain their commitments with their customers to ensure good standing, and really as a best foot forward in terms of growing that relationship and start doing more business with those more important partners. Secondly, the area I want to show is more of the insights section. So as you can see here, we do have some pre-built prompts, but essentially, and kind of how I like to think of this is Cleo's sort of AI, I guess not necessarily a chat bot, but where you're able to ask Cleo for specific insights around processes. So I just clicked on one of the prompts. This was one that I did earlier. So you are able to have a history. So if anybody needs to go back to review any information that they've previously looked over, we will save a history of all of those prompts. But the insights that we're able to derive straight from the cockpit, straight from all the activity, can be very powerful in terms of sharing information around performance within an organization. So here we just have a pre-built prompt around fill rate performance over the last 14 days. So we get insight into all of our partners that are performing well. So at the top here, we can see Caterpillar is our best performer. We're 100% across the board in terms of our confirmation rate, shipment rate, and reconciliation rate. Now we can also see where we are dropping the ball a little bit with Meyer. So what this allows us to do is take some action on all the data that we're processing to go ahead and ensure that, hey, if we have a problem with Meyer, we can go ahead and let the right people know to help amend that relationship, to see if there's any issues that might be causing these confirmation rates or shipment rates to drop below the allowed standard. So a lot is going on in terms of how Cleo is utilizing AI. Again, a lot more of these capabilities will be rolling out over the next few months and quarters, as AI is the new focal point across, really, again, as I mentioned earlier, all industries. But in terms of how Cleo is approaching AI, we want to allow our customers to leverage all of the data that they have to the best of their abilities without needing to feed data into other solutions that might be doing the same thing that can be done directly within the cockpit. So again, some very cool things coming out around the AI space. but more to come in the coming months and quarters. So I know we only have 3 minutes left. I do want to switch over to do some questions. So again, if there is anything at all that was mentioned that needs some clarity, feel free to drop those questions below. Any interest as well on the AI side of things, happy to answer any questions that I'm able to at the moment. Let's see here. So, do, 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 do. In our BC integrations, the question was around how we support other document types that are not supported by that accelerator. So again, any document type whatsoever that you may be sending or receiving with a trading partner, it can be supported in a direct integration manner. We just won't be leveraging any of that foundation or pre-built plumbing for some of those other documents. So the way the accelerator works is it allows us to have more of a pre-built foundation or, as I just mentioned, some existing plumbing into common integration practices for those common documents. But if any document wasn't listed, it doesn't mean that we can't support it. Does Cleo offer off-platform alerting? Yes. So in terms of any of those email notifications around error resolution, letting folks know, around any of the insights into file activities, if another solution like a Zendesk is used for some of these ticketing or just communication purposes, we are able to pass data to that system. So again, for whatever reason, if there's more of a centralization of some of these communications and we don't want to necessarily send all of our notifications out of the cockpit, we do have integration capabilities to some of those other ticketing or notification solutions. Last question. Yes, this was so in terms of reprocessing documents or detecting duplicates. As I mentioned earlier, the accelerator for any documents that are going in or out of the BC system, we do have kind of like a traffic cop in place to see if there's any duplicates or issues going on with any of that inbound and outbound file activity. And again, that will catch anything. So if an invoice doesn't match its corresponding purchase order, we will flag that as well to not send that out, as that could lead to EDI errors or, as I mentioned earlier, potential chargeback issues. So I know that we are at time here. Any other questions at all, I'd recommend reaching out to a Cleo representative and setting up some time to address any interest or concerns around the BC integration. I do want to mention that the Cleo team will be at DynamicsCon. DynamicsCon, I believe, is next week. So the Cleo team will have a booth there. We will be talking and looking forward to meeting with customers or any prospects who are interested. So keep an eye out for Cleo at DynamicsCon. And the last thing that I'll mention, our next webinar, I believe, is 5/21. And that will focus on Cleo Integration Cloud and how we fit in the food and beverage industry. So keep an eye out for invites for that webinar. But I appreciate everybody taking some time out of their day to join us for this webinar today. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks.